Hi everyone, it's Desiree and I am here with day 17 of my Christmas series for 2020. For this one, we are going to pull out my colored pencils again, and it is going to be my Prismacolors. And I am going to work with this Brutus Monroe stamp set, and it is called Slimline Poinsettia. Now, what's great is it's already set. Now, the two poinsettias at the top and the bottom are separate, so you can also use them for a standard A2 size card as well, but this is primarily designed for a slimline style card. Now the sentiments, I just love the font of the sentiments, and you can choose Happy Holidays or Merry Christmas when it comes to this. I will be doing a no line coloring photo, and I'm not going to show all of the coloring, but I will be showing one side. So there's a top and a bottom to this, if you remember the picture. But I'm only going to show one side. I mean, this took me a long time to color. So in its entirety, it took me about close to 2.5 hours to color this piece. I was taking my time, and I was really working through the shades. I did choose, as you saw, the deep red poinsettia with the green leaves coming out. So here I'm going to place my pieces. I am using my stamp positioning tool to do that. And I'm just making sure that these are set where I need them to be set. Now I'm going to make sure that my sentiment is going to fit. I want that to go somewhat down towards the bottom, almost resting on that one leaf. So it's going to nestle right in there between them. So I'm just playing with that placement, and I just want that to be set as well. I will be using my Ink on 3 Fade Out ink. So when it comes to no line coloring, whether I'm using a water product or a colored pencil, I will either use Ink on 3 Fade Out, or Simon Says Stamp Fog, or Simon Says Stamps Barely There. There is one by Desiree K that I will use, and I just can't remember the name of it right now. So either an extremely pale ink or one that will fade out, if that makes sense. So here I've zoomed in. You can see I've got my Prismacolors up above me. I did choose my color, so I'm going with like an olive green, and my reds are going to have that same warmish tone to them as well. My Scary Dark is actually a very deep mahogany and black. Those are the colors that I am using for what I now refer to as the Scary Dark. When it comes to the leaves, the leaf portion of the flower, I'm actually using the indigo blue. And usually for those leaves, I will use my indigo blue, which is very close to black. Now, one thing that's very interesting when it comes to the poinsettia flower is the leaves are actually part of the flower. So the leaf that's green, that section starts out as green, and then over time, that same leaf will go into the color of the poinsettia, whether that's the white, the pink, or the red. So it's actually the leaves that, all the leaves are actually part of the flower itself. It just keeps growing as it continues to mature and age, I guess we could say. What's interesting about the leaf also is it's very textured. So it's not like a typical flat leaf of a petal of, let's say, a rose or a daisy. or anything like that. It's got these veins that go through the leaves, and it makes it very textured because it's bumpy wherever those veins are. So that main vein that goes down the center, it's dark in that section. So you'll see that's kind of how I'm putting this color down. Always I start out with my light. I get my base using a very light hand with that. Now again, to help you get a light hand with your colored pencils is move your hand back on the barrel of the pencil that you're using. Don't be so close. You can see my hand is right on top of that barrel as I'm putting in these dark colors. You can see I'm putting a little bit more pressure. Again, being careful not to fill the tooth of this paper. The paper that I am using for this is my Strathmore Mixed Media Toned Tan. Now, it also does come in drawing sheets for colored pencils, but I think it's just very lightweight. It is extremely lightweight. This mixed media has got some weight to it. It's a nice, thick cardstock weight. It's almost close to, I'm going to say it's close to a 120, between 110 and 120. That's how thick it really, really is. So again, you don't want to fill the tooth right off the bat of the paper you're using. Now, I do not enjoy coloring on Nina Solar White. I think it's too slick. I think it's too smooth. I can't get my colors to blend well. If there's an impression in that paper, it holds the impression. Like if I accidentally wrote on top of it through a couple sheets of paper, that imprint will go down into that paper and my colored pencils will pick that up and I won't be able to fill that in. So the paper, my favorite papers to color on with my colored pencils, my first is the Strathmore Mixed Media series. And again, it comes in toned blue, gray, and tan. If I need like an ivory or a white, I will use Canson XL watercolor paper or any watercolor paper or my Canson Bristol. Now, I have the vellum right now. Again, I don't see the difference between the vellum and the smooth, but that could be me. I mean, that could just be me. It could be something that I'm missing. I just don't see the difference. So you can see this petal, the first red one that I'm working on, I started in the center. That's where the darkest shades are. I've got the darkest shades on the outside because I want that highlight to be at the center of those leaves when it comes from the center. So it's almost like a leaf to a flower that you've seen me make before. That's how I'm making all of these. That's how I'm setting all of these up, if that makes sense. So, again, I always start with my base for my light colors. Then I come in with the super dark. Then I will blend that out with my next darkest. Then I'll blend that out with the third level, and then I'll come completely back over with the lightest color that I used. And for my reds, it all depends on what flower I'm coloring to what my scary dark will be. There are 3 darks that I will use with a red. I'll use a dark brown. I'll use the dark blue. Or I'll also use the darkest and deepest purple. So again, it all depends what type of flower that I'm using. Since I have the yellow shades, the olive shades of the leaves, the true green leaves of the poinsettia, I did choose a deep reddish brown, the deep mahogany, for this color or for this flower. Because again, that brown's going to have the yellow tint, or the warmth that's going to push this in. So you can see as I'm coloring these just look like leaves, different colors and so forth. There is something that I'm missing, and I do go back in to put that color in there. And what that color is the deepest color, because I'm missing the veins. The veins are what, to me, again, my opinion, the veins that are in each of these puddles. Wow. Oof. The veins on each of these petals is what distinguishes the poinsettia from any other flower or floral image that you'll color, at least for me. There's a lot to this. It's not difficult to color. You've just got to remember that that leaf doesn't curve from the base to the top. I mean, it does, but it really also curves from side to side. And that's really what you want to make sure that you're focusing in on. So I have highlights. I have 2 highlights. They look like little bums. You know, your bum that you sit on? Just say. When it comes to the poinsettia leaves. They look like bums, little bums. So you want a double highlight for each petal, for each area. Now we're coming close to the end. Again, I'm showing the majority of the coloring of this piece, but once I get through this section, everything else is very much repetitious. So I did just want to get through at least one of the florals so that you can see it. Now, again, since the leaves themselves, the green leaves, turn into the flower itself, you get to decide which ones will be the green leaves and which one will be the flower when it comes to this image, just like you do with any of the poinsettias that we cover. When it comes to this series or any stamped image that we have, even a die image, you know, we determine what that'll look like. You know, it's funny, I'm doing a voiceover right now and Siri's talking to me and I don't know why. So hang on for 1 second, I'll be right back. Okay, now that was just way too funny. We'll see if it happens again. So you can see, like right there, that looks like a little bum that we sit on. Okay, anyway. So you can see though that, don't get me wrong, this looks like the poinsettia leaves, but now you need to add those veins, and you want to make sure that that's the final thing, at least for me. When I put those final veins in, this image now just comes to life. It truly is representative of a poinsettia. You can see the detail of each of those leaves, and you want to do it the same for the flower part and the green leaves. You want to make sure that you're doing that same process for each of these leaves. So that's the coloring that I'm going to cover in this video. And you can see the rest of the image is absolutely completed. Now, I did not move the stamps in any way. So you got to remember, if you put this up to the top corner or the bottom corner, which of course I did to the top. Now, what I want to do is I want to add some gold accents to this. So I'm going to grab my clear ink, and plus I want my sentiment to be in gold embossing powder as well. So when it comes to the sentiment itself, I want to make sure that's covered. So I'm going to just take the corner of my clear ink, Pray that was still in the area, and it was. Making sure I get that back down to where it is. And now I'm just going to rock my clear ink pad by Simon Says across the two images. I don't know where it hit. I don't know what it came in contact with. But I just wanted it along the edges and the corners of each of the images. So I'm coming in with my Recollections Gold, and now I'm just covering my image, hoping that the entire thing is not covered. Just saying. But I can see bits of fleck of gold going throughout the poinsettia. I'm now going to come in with my Emboss It pen, and I want to fill in the center of the flowers. If there's any embossing powder in that area, and if the bullet nib picked any of that up, I will make sure to clean that off immediately. But I want to make sure the centers are completely covered. I'm also going to make sure I'm not picking up any of the colored pencil. I can. I mean, it all depends. So now that I have my embossing powder on my image, I'm going to grab my heat tool, make sure it is heated up at least 30 seconds, and now I will bring it to the paper. So you can see there's just this little bit of haze that's going across the images. It's not completely covering them because I didn't want them to be completely covered. I wanted to maintain the no line coloring that I started with. But again, I just wanted these little pieces of fleck, these little pieces of gold to be flecked throughout the image. So this is actually set, when it comes to the stamp set, to be about 4 inches wide by 8 inches. Let's see here. I'm checking that now. Yeah, so the stamp itself is about 4 inches wide, and it's about 8 inches long. So I usually either make my slimline cards 4 by 9 as the front, or I make them 8.5 by 3.5. So I did go with a 4 by 9 for this one. So this one's just a little bit larger than what I usually make, but I'm starting to like that size as well. Had fun creating my blizzard on my card. That's what I call that when I take my P.H. Martin's bleed proof white watercolor. It is one of those things that is a staple. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love using white acrylic paint. I love using gesso, and you can. But when it comes to this bleed proof, if I do this on top of an oxide background or a distress ink background, something that will react with water, this white watercolor does not pick up the color. It will not change. Eventually, this gesso will pull back and change its color, as will the acrylic paint. So that's the reason why I love my bleed proof. And I love the effect of what I refer to as a snow blizzard. I do not believe it takes away from the image. I do believe that you can still see the image just fine. I think it adds a lot. And it all depends on the image if I do this or not. It really does. So I added a lot of double-sided tape to the back of this piece. And I'm going to edge it with some satin gold and red glitter cardstock. And you can barely see this red glitter. I want it to be just a sliver of that glitter coming through, because I don't want to take away all of the work that has been done to this card front. So you can barely see it, but it's just enough to give it and to keep that elegance. Now it's amazing. You can see this on white, and that's what that looks like. Now it looks beautiful. I think, though, that the white actually pulls the colors back. It does definitely lighten it up, It's not as deep of colors, but I really did want these colors to be deep. So you're going to see, so remember what that white looked like. Now I am going to cut this piece of black. And to me, that gold just pops right off the paper. It makes the poinsettia look deeper than what it did on the white. But either way, it looked beautiful. So whatever you would choose, if I do tend to lean towards black backgrounds, I think black helps the colors to stand out, for the image to be identified, and to help that stand out as well. Some people may think differently, and that is totally fine. Absolutely. I think the white splotches even stand out a little bit more as well, which I think is great. I'm going to use my liquid adhesive, and I'm going to put this on my Slimline card base, which again is 4x9, at least I think. Yes, 4x9. Wanted to make sure, and it is a side folding. Usually with Slimlines, only the way that it's going to be a top folding if it's a landscape card. This is a lot of weight to make a top folding card, and it wouldn't survive. It would actually crumble. So I'm going to grab my Pretty Pink Posh gold gems, and I'm going to add that to the centers of my poinsettias. Now, on the smaller ones, there's not going to be as many. On the largest ones, I'll be putting 5 of each in all different sizes, just to give it some interest. So you'll have the gold embossing coming through the gems that are being put down in the area. So I always, especially for the larger ones, want to have that larger size of the gem to come through. But I love the fact that there's a difference in the sizes. Now here I'm just fighting with gems because for some reason they come out upside down. So it's very much annoying. So I just keep dumping them out until I get the one that I need to be upright again. Yeah, I'm lazy that way, but I don't know why. They're very annoying to work with. I'm going to add 3 more in the center again, just to pull everything together. And again, using the different sizes. Now, what's funny is I had to remember where I put the glue, because the glue looks like the white splatter. So that was fun. Yeah. It was awesome. I was waiting for the gems just to fall off because instead of putting it on the glue, I put it on one of the white dots. But I didn't do that. I was proud of myself. So that is our card and our project for day 17. I do hope you enjoy it. I had a lot of fun creating that. As always, what I used will be listed down below in the video description, as long as it's still available. Remember, you may have another floral image that's already in your stash. Use these techniques and apply it to that. That would not be a problem at all, and I encourage it. If anyone has any questions, please make sure you leave those down below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I know, I'm a little behind, but I'm getting there. I'm getting caught up. Continue to smile, laugh a little bit each day, but remember what's most important for me as we continue through our journey. Always be creative. Till next time, everyone. Take care.